And we are back with Professional Wrestling, the podcast, with co hosts, Chosen Lawyer and Tamur Qureshi, lawyers at Kormans LLP. Besides being fanatical real estate lawyers and getting transactions closed in Ontario, Canada, we're also giant wrestling fans. And we cover anything and everything in the world of wrestling. And as promised last week, Tamur, we're going to be talking about the wonderful world of wrestling jobbers, specifically WWE.
Oh man, one of my favorite topics. Also, what's known in the maybe the last 20 years as being on Vince McMahon's shit list
Or hit list, but
or hit list. Yeah, yeah.
on his beep list. So
Deep list, yeah.
I listen, the list is growing by the day, by the way. As soon as the NXT people come, they're borderlining. But I came up with what I thought was a top five WWE jobbers currently going.
Mhm.
I'll give you a choice. It's guest rules here. So do you want to start from number one or you want to count our way backwards?
Let's counterweight backwards. That's always good when you're talking wrestling. Yeah.
Well, then we're going to start with number five. So top
Yeah.
five WWE modern day jobbers. At number five, it's actually a tie, the only tie in this case. And it was between Elias slash Ezekiel and Boogs.
Oh, okay. Well, basically the same character with just a little bit of different physical characteristics, right? Um, yeah, very surprising on how they've used Elias since he came back with that whole. I mean, that Ezekiel thing was a little funny, right? For a few weeks, but then it's just like, yeah, where are you at now? Um, this guy had that potential to obviously he was never going to be world champion, right? But he had the potential to be a upper mid card guy. I could see him, having that run with the intercontinental title, having that run with the US title, right? Almost, I guess, if I'm going to compare him to someone from like my era of like when I grew up on wrestling, I saw him kind of similar to what would you call like let's say like Test, if you recall Test from that career, kind of similar size, right? Similar ceiling. They had him kind of going there for a bit, when he had those concerts in the middle of the ring and the people would legitimately kind of sing with him. And when he says like WWE stands for, and then the crowd goes walks with Elias, right? And like a couple of times you would notice even he would get shocked at how big of a pop he would get. Um, I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago during the Royal Rumble, I think he came in like third or fourth, and like everybody was ahead of him was already out by the time, and Heath Slater was outside the ring because he didn't get a chance to win yet. Everyone was beating him up, and he basically came in singing, had like a mini concert inside the ring, like like this guy was over, and it just went downhill. And I don't see him coming back now. It's just it's too late. Like,
I gotta say with Elias, I hated the concerts. Every time me and my trainer Jared, we call it dog walking matches.
yeah,
So an Elias match is called a dog walking match. So you can go off and walk your dog, and come back. And I miss the concerts now. I know now that they're
yeah.
really jobbing him like to the point that he's just a complete joke. I kind of
Mhm.
miss that. I like the Ezekiel angle with Kevin Owens. I thought it was amazing. I actually just want Ezekiel back. I don't want Elias anymore. I'd be happier if just Ezekiel was here. Ezekiel was good. Ezekiel was, he put him with Madcap Moss. You know what? Those two both, anybody with Madcap Moss at this point, but Madcap didn't even make the list. Like he's that
Yeah,
irrelevant.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sorry,
That's
Madcap.
that's
It's just I
that's
don't.
that's when you don't even make the list. That's sad.
I don't get it, but I
Yeah.
would have liked to have that. He's just there. They're kind of not even doing the concert thing anymore. He's in the backstage, but I'm okay with Elias. I kind of like Boogs. I like that. I like Boogs. I like the kind of energy. He kind of wins matches against bums, but you know what? He's fun. He's fun. You know what? Somebody's got to get there to be squashed occasionally and be built up a little bit. And I know he's jobbing. I know he's not. He's a joke character, but I like Boogs. What's your take on Boogs?
Well, so look, has the look for sure, right? And like that's why you can see like why Vince McMahon would be pushing someone like him. Just like the size, he has the size. I just the facial look doesn't match the size for some reason, right? And like because just like that mustache and that look, it just looks like that's like a look of like a serious character, whereas he's kind of playing a joke character, and the attire that he has kind of gives that um look of he's like a serious mad wrestler, right? And he has the skill, right? But just if you're gonna make someone a joke character, like dress them up like a joke character so it helps them get over as a joke character, right? He's shown that he can be funny. Just the things aren't aligning the way they want him to. I think he could he's someone that if they do a gimmick change, I can see him getting out of the jobber role. But the way it is now and all the guys they have ahead of him, I think he's at least in WWE, he's not getting past the jobber rank.
I think you need somebody for Bronson Reed to squash. You need
Mm.
someone for Braun Breaker to squash, and they got to look the part, and that's going to be Boogs. You need somebody to fight on main event. You need someone for dark matches. Boogs is what he is, but he's a lot of fun. He's really strong. He's got the look, like you said, but yeah, I don't see it for him, and it ain't gonna get better. So
Yep.
we'll leave those guys where they're at because they're still young guys with hope.
Yeah.
The next two, we're gonna start with number four, is past the prime expiry date. They're keeping around. I don't get it. I've never got it. I don't get the whole thing. Dolph Ziggler, help
Yeah,
me.
that yeah. Yeah, that's just I think Dolph Ziggler is like one of those biggest what ifs of the last 20 years, right? Starting with that whole gimmick as part of the Spirit Squad. And then I think he was like one of the I guess he's the only guy who kind of made it out of that gimmick and was kind of well, I guess he was the world champion when that was considered the B belt, like back in the day for a bit, right? Um, Definitely has the skills, right? Like the rings. No one's like I'm basically I guess what they call him is like a poor man's Shawn Michael, a very poor man's Shawn Michael, right? So
Very
yeah,
poor.
yeah, very poor man's. So but still has that skill in the ring, right? Sometimes can cut a promo, but it's just never got past, like I guess if I'm going to use Vince McMahon's words, like just couldn't reach for the brass ring, right? It's stale now, definitely stale, right? Also that look is outdated for the current era of wrestling. I would say if he would, I think he's the guy who's just in the wrong place at the wrong time, right? Like would have been the right guy maybe in the mid '80s. He would have been a guy that would probably gone over very well when you were started watching wrestling, right? Like late '80s, early '90s. He's kind of made for that era. He's made for that shirt, right? Kind of get that Mr. Perfect vibe, right? In terms of the look, right? But just yeah, they could just never get over. I think at this stage of his career, his job is to literally put other people over, right? So that's the definition of a jobber right there.
There's a high school movie from back in the day that the name escapes me at the moment, but Matthew McConaughey was in it. And there's the
Yes, I
famous
know.
line, he's a 20
Yes,
some, what's it called? What's that movie?
dazed and confused.
Was it Dazed and Confused?
Yes.
Where he's in high school, he's like 24, and girls walk by and he's like, you know, they keep getting younger and I keep staying the same age, right?
No,
Something
no,
along those
no.
lines.
It's like I get older, they stay the same
I
age.
get older, they stay the same
Yeah,
age. Right, right, right.
yeah,
That's Dolph Ziggler in the locker room in WWE. I don't know how much you all folks follow as far as the sources go, but there's not too many women in the last 20 years that have walked through a WWE locker room that have not slept with Dolph Ziggler pretty much. He's pretty famous for that.
yeah,
And the women like talking about it also. I don't know if they keep him around for entertainment for the ladies, but it's like it's like a Ron Jeremy creepy washed up that just hanging around like a lounge lizard, and I don't get it. And when he comes to talk, and then he starts fighting with Mustafa Ali, and he's like, "I'll show you,
Mhm.
youngin. You have no respect." Like, it's done. It's just done. Like, let the man gracefully go. Let him go set up the ring, or let him be a commentator or backstage interviewer. Maybe he has the skills, but it just Timur, it's kind of it's done, and he is jobbing. And you know what's funny though? He's one of the best paid guys on the roster too.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you know
exactly.
what? Pay me $3 million a year to
Yeah, yeah,
job. I'll do it all day long. So he knows his role. He
yeah.
plays it well. But it's like it's just I feel like it's passe, and he's taking away opportunities from people with talent, younger that are coming up, and it's just sad to see. It's like watching in hockey, and you're watching a 43-year-old guy on the ice, and people are skating by him. He's not scoring any goals. Goals are being given up, not strong defensively. It's like, but they're still holding on, holding on. Dolph,
Mhm,
if
mhm.
he wants to create that legacy, like I'm not bashing the guy. Oh, you watch him in his prime, the man was a stud, and he still does the moves out there. But I'd want to be remembered as that guy in the prime. He continues doing what he's doing. No one will ever remember him as anything but a jobber, in my estimation.
Yeah, well, I think the perfect way to kind of summarize Dolph is um, that little meme that he's become famous for the last like few years. and that's a perfect definition of his character. Is like it should have been me. Well, maybe it should have, but it's not gonna be. So that's all you can hang on to.
Speaking of well paid, has been, should have been me, jokes of the century. It hasn't become you think that Elias has made a joke. You think Dolph
Yeah.
is a joke. Well, at number three, The Miz.
Oh man.
Oh my Lord. I mean, just look at WrestleMania and his hosting and getting beat up by anybody and everybody. Snoop Dogg, Shane McMahon blowing out his
Yeah.
his legs and like honestly, like the whole Miz thing, it was kind of funny when you had the Dexter Loomis thing,
Mhm.
but why is he getting so much airtime? Why was he in the triple threat match? I'm not understanding. Okay, we gotta make a decision. Is he a wrestler that's gonna be taken seriously, or is he a joke comedy side? Why are they trying to do both, Timur?
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing. I think and he's another one of those guys that like at this point, I mean, like yeah, like the guy's still in shape, right? And like he outside of WWE, he's kind of made a name for WWE, right? So I think that's why they like having him because he has that personality where when they send certain people from their company to external WWE events, he's one of those people that is marketable and can kind of connect with that other outside of the wrestling audience, right? So that's why they like having him around. But and surprisingly well, I think he's a double Grand Slam champion, right? Like that's crazy if you think about it, right? Like so many people in the history of wrestling that are much more talented, much more deserving, aren't even like one-time Grand Slam champion. And this guy's a two-time Grand Slam champion. That's crazy to think about. And like respect to him, he's been doing it for like about 20 years now, right? So you have to give the guy his roses where they're due. But I think at this point he doesn't need to be in the ring anymore. He doesn't need to be there because he was never a guy that kind of stuck out as oh look at the amazing skills that he has in the ring, right? It was always based on that annoying character work, right? um but it's stale now. It's stale, right? The whole like I wouldn't mind if he just stays around to do Miss TV segments but doesn't wrestle,
Think
right?
about, like, I was gonna say the exact same thing. When he comes on Miss TV and does the interviewing, he's
Mhm.
kind of edgy. Sometimes he goes along with the guests. I'm okay with Miss TV. Put a Miss TV every week. That's fine. Let's do that. Between appearing on Family Feud, he can
Mhm.
go on The Amazing Race. He can stick with his reality shows. Whatever he's got to do. He's got so much on his plate. Why is
Mhm.
he on my television
Yeah,
set?
yeah.
And again, it's taken away. He's kind of jobbing it out. I think it's taken away from the legacy of it. If I'm gonna go a step up, let's bring him as a managerial role.
Yes,
Let's
yes,
bring let's
yes.
have the Miz entourage. Let's find the next real stars, and they're gonna actually do the work and win and pump him up. He would be a great manager. He should be the next
So
Bobby Heenan.
exactly,
Thank
exactly. That's just what I was thinking. I was gonna say someone from your era, like he's that. Obviously, he's not gonna. No one comes close to the brain, right? But, um, like that's perfect for him, right? Because if you know, like Bobby the Brain here, he had some athletic skill too. Like he was like jumping out of rings to get away from guys, right? He wasn't just like a manager like Paul Heyman, where like out of shape, right? Like he could like he knew how to like work in the ring too if needed. So the Miz would be a perfect like I guess they call it chicken heel, right? Chicken manager, like that's made for him. I think they probably will. Like he wants to be around forever, right? Because as much as he tried to get a career in Hollywood, that's not happening for him. He's no Rock, he's no Cena, he's no Batista, right? He's the only movies he's coming in are the ones produced by WWE. So he's not going to Hollywood. Like this is his money train. So I don't see him leaving WWE, and he's a company guy through and through. Like he's not going to AEW, he's not going to Ring of Honor. Like he came up through their system, and not only through their system as a wrestler, he came up through their system as a sports entertainer. Like this is the guy basically like like Vince McMahon's sports entertainment side of things guy, right? Like yeah, like what was I think it's 2003 when he won Tough Enough, right? So it has
Tough
been 20 years.
Enough,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah, yeah,
Maurice,
yeah,
whatever the
yeah,
heck her
yeah,
name
yeah,
is,
yeah, yeah.
she's through there.
So yeah,
And he's one of the highest paid guys.
yeah,
And
yeah,
and
yeah,
yes, he gets eyeballs, and we hate
yeah,
him, and we want to yell at him. But
yeah. No, no,
I think
I think he's gonna be around for a while. We're not getting rid of him.
no. But hopefully, I see the evolution of Miz TV. This again, I don't know why he's competing for anything. I guess they kind of
Yeah,
gave him
yeah,
like a bone to throw in and say you're going to be
yeah,
part of
yeah,
it,
yeah.
but not happening. We're down to our final two, the top two jobbers. A little biased on this list, but these are two of my favorites actually.
Mhm.
And I have a lot of debates now when I'm working out at the gym, and I got my trainer, Jared, and we got Steve, we got people they're talking. These two names come up nonstop, Timur, as far as jobber, not jobber, potential, not potential. Number two on the list, begrudgingly, I gotta put it out there, is Karrion Kross TikTok. I love Karrion Kross. I love the shtick. His vignettes are amazing. He talks amazing. You got Scarlett. He brings out the cards. He picks his next opponent. When he comes out, the entrance music with the darkness. I just wish Scarlett would stop lip syncing to it. She's taking away from the effect. Like, I don't need to see her lip sync it. It's not
Yeah.
adding to anything. And he's like, whatever. But he should be doing more. He was an NXT star. Why is this man jobbing day in, day out, week in, week out? Like, he's got everything. He's got the look, he's got the vignettes, he's got the voice. Timur, what are they doing to this man? Why are they killing his career?
Yeah, this one has me baffled. Absolutely. And like a few years ago, they used to call when someone got called, I guess, to the main roster from NXT, they used to call it, someone's been demoted to the main roster, right? And he's a perfect example of that. Like you get called instead of saying called, you got called up to the main roster, so you get called down to the main roster. And a lot of the guys when they come up, like you have like your Johnny Garganos and like a few of the other guys they brought in this year, like Cameron Grimes, like they're they get lost in the shuffle because they kind of have similar guys on the main roster. This is a gimmick that doesn't exist on the main roster. Karrion Kross's gimmick is very unique, right? You don't like Bray Wyatt's kind of thing was a little different, but he wasn't around. Bray Wyatt was missing at the time when they. I think I'm pretty sure Bray Wyatt was not in WWE at the time when they brought Karrion Kross up, right?
I don't
So
think
you
so.
have that supernatural element gimmick that's kind of exclusive only to this guy. So he had that with him. They had someone who could stand out from the rest of the roster. He has the size with Scarlett. You got that ballet, right? Um, yeah,
And she's
I
not hard
this
on the eyes. Let's be
yeah.
honest.
So this one. I have no idea how they could not make this guy a megastar. Like he could have been someone like at one point, obviously very early into Roman Reigns' title run. Like he was someone people were saying is a potential person who would end that title reign, right? Like with the size when they brought up, right? And now it's like he can't even like carry Roman's jockstrap. Like that's the level he's at right now. I think out of everyone we've named so far, like he is the one who still has the potential to turn it around, right? Like a couple months of strong work, maybe like a Money in the Bank or he's someone I can see maybe not this year, and it's going to be a bit too early to say he's going to win the Rumble next year, right? Because I still think that's going to be Cody Rhodes coming at number one and winning it all the way through, right? But I can see him maybe kind of coming up the ranks, hopefully, right, this year. And I see him as a winning the Money in the Bank, a potential Money in the Bank winner for 2024.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right
Yeah,
because the ones that don't like Karrion Kross hate Karrion Kross.
yeah,
And, I've heard he needs to get a six pack. He needs to go and shave his head and do that look again. He looked much better, more ferocious. The hair isn't working for him.
yeah.
I don't know what it is, Timur, but they've decided that they're going to bury this man. And in NXT, I don't know how much you've watched it, but the tag champs, Isla Dawn and Alba Fire,
Mm-hmm.
they had the
Mm-hmm.
very supernatural thing. They were fighting
Mm-hmm.
against each other supernatural. Then they came
Mm-hmm.
together. They had such a strong gimmick going into NXT. Now they've come up as the NXT champs into WWE.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that they're going to dominate the women's division because they were the best thing going in NXT by far in the women's division, and
Mm-hmm.
that's a huge loss for NXT. But I hope they don't get lost in shuffle because it was such a natural, amazing gimmick that nobody else is doing. Not that far off from Karrion, but they are truly supernatural. Whereas Karrion is just a strong powerhouse. So
Mm-hmm.
he's my number two jobber, and every time I think this is the week it's gonna get better, and it never seems to. Number one on the list, though, this one was an easy choice. I love him. I don't know what they're doing to the man. Back in the day, he had a black dress shirt on and his black slacks. He would come out. End of days was the best finishing move. Nobody ever kicked out of it. One person has kicked out of end of days. We've come now to the point where we're wearing a tank and shorts,
Mm-hmm.
and he loses. If he lasts more than 2 minutes in the match, it's a miracle, and it's Baron Corbin.
Yeah. So that's another big kind of ball drop, right? On WWE. Like they had again, this is again, you can tell this is a Vince McMahon guy, right?
But he loved
Once
him.
called
But
up.
he loved
And
him. He
no,
was
that's what I'm saying.
pushing him
Yes,
to the
yes, yes,
moon.
yeah, yeah. And I guess he just kind of lost interest, right? Because yeah, like end of days looks one of the best like finishing moves in recent times. And I think he's still the last guy to beat Roman Reigns clean,
And he'll remind you
right?
of that
Yeah,
every time you see him,
yeah,
for
yeah, yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah,
But you
right?
notice that him
Yeah,
and Madcap had a good little thing going. And the second they split them up, both of them went to the toilet. I think Madcap needs Baron
yeah,
ASAP.
yeah, yeah. They need to kind of re tangle there. And I think so obviously when they had that lone wolf gimmick going, yeah, it was fine. Then it kind of ran stale, and then they kind of had him as part of the what was he called, Commissioner Gordon or Commissioner Corbin or some part of that tour.
He
He was
was the
part of
king
it.
also at one point, King
Well, he was a
Corbin.
king. I don't know if he was King Corbin. I think he was King Corbin
He
after
won
this.
King of the Ring. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, but no, he was like when Kurt Angle was GM, he was the assistant GM, but it was a Constable Corbin. That was it, Constable Corbin when he was wearing like the vest and everything, right? So yeah, so they had him involved in the authority gimmick where he would wrestle kind of in like dress shirt and dress pants, and he was over in that too. And then they had the whole bum Corbin, right? And that was probably his best gimmick. Like that thing was over, and then they just ended it because he won the jack, like he won the lottery, and then like became this Baron Corbin again. Like they should have stuck with that bum Corbin, like that was naturally getting over, like right. Like, I don't know why they do this sometimes. We're when someone naturally gets over on their own and it's outside of like the storyline plan they have for him, they don't like that anymore. So they basically cut the entire run out, and that's not how it used to be before, right? Like you let guys get naturally over. Um, like obviously when it's really hot, then they have to run with it, like how it happened with Sami Zayn, right? Recently, or how it happened with Daniel Bryan, like about 10 years ago, right? So sometimes they just can't ignore it, but most of the time now, when I think they have set certain levels for guys, right? They've like kind of put ceilings on ceiling in for guys, and when they see someone breaking that ceiling and it's not as per the plans they have set for them, they push you down. And I think that's what happened with Baron Corbin with that bum Corbin gimmick.
I thought that it was going well with JBL. I liked him coming out with JBL. He got some
Mm,
wins, right?
mm,
He had his jobber poker games. It was going well with the jobbers. Remember, you always had the good brothers there. You had Alpha Academy. All the jobbers were joining in for the jobber poker games. Life was good, and I liked the music. I liked JBL coming out. When JBL compared him to polishing a turd, it was over. You could literally see all the air deflate out of him,
yeah.
and it was only going to get worse at this point. And it's such a shame because it was such a good pairing. I liked it. Not unlike, if you get bored one day, Cameron Grimes, you brought him up for a moment.
Hmm.
Cameron Grimes has been sitting at home for what, the last 9 months, 10 months, waiting for them to find a gimmick for him. They found nothing. But before all this, he was a star in NXT. He had a ton of vignettes with Million Dollar Man and fighting for the $1 million belt. Cameron Grimes was awesome. To bring him here
Hmm.
now mentioned this stuff, and he's just gonna be another guy,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
don't understand. You got a gimmick that's going strong. Keep the gimmick going. You don't need a new gimmick. You don't have to
yeah,
change their name.
yeah, yeah.
NXT worked. Let's just keep the same gimmick going. Maybe with Baron, it just hit me. I think the only solution is we got to send him back to
Same,
NXT.
yeah, yeah.
We need a new gimmick change or bring him back to the Lone Wolf. He needs a new invigoration. He's got to have a strong manager, maybe The Miz as a manager, but
Mm,
somebody to push him through. And he's got to start winning again. And he needs to have a refocus. Maybe they send him to a sports psychologist and they refocus his brain. He hits the gym and he comes out, something like that. Otherwise, it's down. He's Elias, Rick Boogs, and it's over. And it's just over. And it's a shame because Baron's also a company guy. I don't want to see him go to AEW. I don't want to see him go to Impact. But unless they actually do some kind of overhaul, they need to send him away. Maybe it's got to be Bronson Reed squashes him so bad with the tsunami. He's in the hospital for 6 months and he comes back as a totally new guy. Otherwise, bye bye Baron. I'm sorry, but they're squashing you.
I think if they do send him down to NXT, I can see him with that kind of that having that. Well, he won't be the lone wolf, but the persona that he had as that lone wolf character, him and kind of someone similar to him right now, which is even in NXT, which is even more still than him. If you know the guy by name, what's it called, Von Wagner, right? I can see Robert
He got called
Stone.
up to WWE.
Well, did he get called up now?
He
Oh,
got
okay.
called up. He was in that battle royal.
Oh, was he? Okay, I thought he was still
Yes,
down in NXT. Okay, so they
he's
okay.
doing both. I don't know what
Okay,
happened, but Von Wagner,
okay. So I can
Dale, he was never
yeah,
good.
I would because he's kind of that he has no character at all. He's stale, right? He has a size but no character. So I want to see a tag team with him and Corbin with Robert Stone as the manager.
Mr. Stone.
Yeah,
Mr. Stone. Okay. So we think there may still be hope, maybe for
yeah,
Baron.
maybe.
Carrion can still pull it out.
Yeah, yeah,
The rest of the guys, sorry, but it's jobber land for
yeah,
you. Or
yeah,
as they call them, talent enhancement, but we won't go there.
yeah.
Always a pleasure, Timur Qureshi. Thank you so much for putting your insights for Professional Wrestling, the podcast. And we'll be back next week. And next week, we're going to be talking about Gunther and Imperium.
Oh,
Haha. Stay
the ring
tuned.
general.
Ring General. Stay tuned.